Hello everyone, did you miss me? I missed me. Welcome back to the Chronicles of Fanfic. Not dead, just on life support. Jeez, what do I say after all these weeks? It's been weeks or it's been months of not being here. First of all, thank you to everyone who tuned in and donated to the Asylum Seeker Resource Center fundraiser I did. Really great success. I aim for $500 as a target. And we exceeded it, so we have enough to pay and go get like a medium quarter-pounder meal at Macca, so that's good. Thank you to everyone. Secondly, I am still going to finish my Immortal, I promise. But tonight we are starting off some absolute fucking filth. Seriously. This first one, you're going to see it. If this doesn't make me cack myself, I don't know what will. For those who need a refresher on the rules, drink it if you got it, crack them if you got them, and yeah, let's see what we got, shall we? Okay, this fanfic is actually in the comments section of a Reddit, a subreddit, TikTok cringe. Turds of Wisdom wrote, "Love a good stimulus package," and Dimitri took it upon himself to reply. Apparently, this is a Trump Biden slash. Oh boy. I need a couple of those. Okay, here we go. It had been 3 days and Trump and Biden were still sexting on Snapchat. Hits you right out of the gate. It felt so wrong, but also so right. It was so all-consuming that Trump had put Putin out of his mind completely. The Russian snaps had been left on red, and Trump hardly noticed the bold text or smirking emoji next to it. He had a new play toy now. The American people were starting to wonder if the president was okay. He had been completely absent from press conferences, and his usual routine tweets were barren. His advisors insisted that he needed to make a move, or people would begin to speculate that he was too sick with COVID-19. We interrupt this broadcast. I hope everyone is taking care of themselves, wherever you are. Here in Australia, we're doing okay, but yeah, I hope you guys are staying safe from COVID. This has been a message from our sponsor. Anyway, back to it. But Trump just ignored them. "If you talk to me again, I will fire you like the rest of them," he said in one final angry text. Instead of dealing with politics, Trump was busy dealing with Biden's body. He had found in these past few days that this secret affair was just what he needed to get through these long, laborious days. He met Joe on Zoom dates, FaceTime, and Snapchat, but Trump wanted more. One evening, as he sat in his bedroom on a plush Tempur-Pedic mattress that had cost $10,000, he texted Biden those two glorious words. "Come over," Trump implored. He knew it wasn't allowed due to the pandemic, that it was going against the warnings of every medical advisor and most of his cabinet, but he just couldn't wait. He needed Biden now. Plus, science and medicine had never stopped him before, so how could it stop him now? Now that he needed Biden's body more than ever. "I can't," Biden shot back within minutes, accompanied by a sensual pic of his aging groin. "Coronavirus," sad face. "You're going to let that stop you," Trump demanded, "when you could have this?" Done this to myself, haven't I? Alright. His rotund orange tummy protruded across his phone camera like a ripe tangerine. Give it to me, Daddy, he added for effect. Biden wouldn't be able to deny him. "Not now, not ever." "Fine," Biden said. "You come here. Two-person meeting only." But that wasn't enough for Trump, who had an endless supply of young working man's blood to sustain himself if he ever got sick. What? He would share with Biden in exchange for sex. He was about to argue as much when his phone dinged a long, sensual ding again. "JK," Biden wrote. "I'm coming to you." Trump was sprawled out across his expensive bed when Biden climbed his rackety old bones up the tree to get to his window. Why? In an unprecedented move of generosity, Trump had allowed Dimitri, his head of staff, to order the rest of the White House staff to shelter in place in order for Biden to access him without dealing with security. He could hear the arthritic crack of Biden's joints as he shimmied up the tree, clawing towards the windowsill. Why doesn't he just come into the front door? Trump lazily gazed at him, struggling. "Work for me, you lazy Democrat," Trump muttered sensually. Biden chuckled. "I am an establishment Dem," he purred, "and therefore we are more politically similar than you could ever imagine." I know that, Trump rolled his eyes. I just wanted to go to a role play where you actually give a shit about the working class, and I can impress you with my... I just wanted to do a roleplay where you actually give a shit about the working class and I can impress you with my giant MAGA cock. I've seen your cock, Biden said. I've seen your cock, Biden said, finally letting himself in. He crawled across Trump's bed like a spider. I've seen your cock, Biden said, finally letting himself in. He crawled across Trump's bed like a spider, and it is not great by any measure. Trump shivered, but you can't get enough of it. They locked eyes. Sorry, I just glanced down at a comment following this, and it just says, unwrite this. They locked eyes. Both politicians knew the appeal of the affair came from the secrecy, and not from any attraction to one another. If they were actually queer and gave a shit about gay rights, they might be slightly cooler, but instead they were just getting off and being rich establishment godlord politicians and had a long voting history of homophobia and racism to boot. Pretend you give a shit about the American people, Trump cooed. For me, Joe. Biden shook his head. I can't do that. I already do that on the campaign trail all the time, and it's hard, Don. Let me just be an evil megalomaniac like you. It works better for me on account of my dementia. That didn't really compute to Trump. Sex to him had always been about asserting his power and wealth over the other person. And if they were equally power-hungry and rich, what was the point? Still, Biden was here and he was horny. Trump was in no place to argue with his demands. Fuck me, daddy. Why? Fuck me, daddy, said Biden in a truly disgusting way. I want to feel your stimulus package deep inside of me. They hopped on top of each other and had sex in a truly unremarkable and unsatisfying way. In that moment, they understood the pain the author was in when he wrote this, because neither of them prepped or used lube. It was terrible, just like this story. Just like my life. You know, there's probably an argument for against this story. I mean, aside from the really obvious one saying that Trump is not to be, treated as if he's some sort of harmless idiot. At the same time, when it comes to the worst smart fic out there on the internet, this is gold standard, so I don't apologize for that. But yeah, fuck Trump, vote Biden. He's the best of a bad lot. Another 4 years of Trump will be like, so vote Democrat. Said the Australian. Let's take a look in the comment section. You know you had a choice to write this or not. You made the wrong one. Yeah. I'm going to bleach my eyeballs now. Enjoy the award. 2020 election? More like the 2020 erection. I'm as hard as a fat pink mast. I think that's a Game of Thrones thing. You weave a vivid tapestry, unfortunately for me and my brain. I am fully talked. I wish I lived in The Handmaid's Tale so I wouldn't have to read this. Yeah, me too. Just kidding. Okay, this next one is called Ronald's Last Supper. Again, it is written on, because here's how it works. Sometimes I find the worst fanfics on Reddit and they provide a link to it, which goes to fanfiction.net or archive of our own. However, this one, much like this previous one, is actually written on Reddit itself. It's a strange thing, but we'll just go with it. Okay, this is by Weekly Mistakes. I think that's their name. Or is that the subreddit? I don't fucking... Okay, whatever, we're doing it. Alright. Ronald's Last Supper. Ronald sat there, beckoned God, his cock throbbing with anticipation. In God's eyes, there was nothing but a burning lust for his McMeat. Why am I doing this again? God crept forward, his knees following his aching wrist. He'd already been on all fours for hours, begging his hunky burger clown's breakfast sausage, as God's chin reached Ronald's knees. God saw him stop him. So close, but that only counts with horseshoes and hand grenades. What? And while God's lust was a time bomb, that doesn't count. Ron's cock looked as delicious as his fries. Or even his thighs. It was all but soaking in pre-cum. God couldn't wait to see it soaked in 2 more bodily fluids. The waiting was killing him. He wanted it deep in his throat. He wanted to swallow it like McAfee's orange juice. McAfee? I don't know. God felt his mouth practically leaking in anticipation. This denial of service to his circus master was already more than enough to make him have left a long trail of holy liquid behind him. No, his liquids aren't the holy ones, he thought. My masters are. Finally, the clown nodded and spread his legs for the creator to come closer. God almost fell as he raced forth like the animals to Noah's Ark. Within seconds, God had wrapped his lips around Ronald's thick 7-inch cock. And even though he was all-powerful, God still made sure he struggled to take the whole thing in. Lest Master think he wasn't in control. He got into a rhythm. This upset Ronald, so he took his hands freshly out of his yellow gloves. He gripped God's head and decided what he would do. Ronald used God like a toy. God didn't mind he was making his master one happy meal. Ronald let out a loud, satisfied moan as God gasped for air. Finally, Ronald finished in God. Ronald finished in God, getting his Big Mac special sauce all the way down God's throat. It was so much that it was dripping out of his mouth, even though it was basically corked by the thick cock in his mouth. God was drunk with lust. His body was completely at the will of the mascot. Ronald knew this and pulled God's head off his cock. And in one motion he had God on his back and he was standing. He was dripping cum and saliva right onto God's pitiful dick. It was nothing compared to Ronald's rod. His cock hadn't even wavered. It was just as long and hard as ever. He wanted more. This may be heaven, but this was Ron's place. With no effort, Ron lifted his cum-filled lover. All God could manage to say was, more. Over and over again, Ronald just simply said, soon, my little McFucking nugget. Before God knew, it was soon was now. As Ronald laid God down on the table, he then flipped him over and shoved God's face down into the table. Before God's mind even had time to process these events, Ronald had shoved his tip into God's tight, eager asshole, but no more. God cried out for more, but Ronald simply whispered in his ear, you don't get to decide what you get when. Sure. God whimpered, knowing he was wrong to try and give commands to his master. He managed to mutter out simply, I'm sorry, Daddy, to which he only replied, you will be, you useless cock sleeve. God was excited by those words, and he showed it, knowing full well it would just make him madder. Not only did it work well, it works quickly, as Ronald shoved his entire length into God in frustration. God's pitiful, flaccid cock spurted out cum from the sudden shock of pleasure. All Ronald could think about was ruining God's supple, plump ass. He just kept pumping his entire combo meal of a cock fully into the completely out. With each thrust, God spurted a little more. When Ronald came, his special sauce filled God like an apple pie. He quickly pulled out and came all over God, glazing him like a cinnamon melt. Finally, Ronald's hunger was gone, and he took God to bed and laid with him, spooning his perfect little twink. God was loving this just as much as the earlier fun, but what he loved the most was when he felt Ronald's cock slowly harden once again, right between his legs. God could feel his balls sag around the throbbing member, teasing him once again. As no matter what, God will always... Okay, it says MKVE. That's a typo, right? Whatever. As no matter what, God will always McVeigh for this cock, and it knew it. Yeah. Well, guys, I'm back after a long stint, and that's about all I can handle for tonight. But yeah, we're back.
Found on the web.
No. But yeah, guys, we are back. We're back, baby. Chronicles of Fanfic is here to stay. I'll probably be updating regularly again. I'm going to do this new thing where I'm going to cut and edit my videos together. You've probably noticed that with this one. In the past, it's just been one long stream of shit with lots of empty crap happening in the middle. So I'm streamlining this performance. Yeah, a little production value goes a long way. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Could always use those to grow my little humble channel. If there is something you'd like me to read out, well, you can't send messages on YouTube, can you? Let me rephrase that. Write in the comments, and I'll read it. For those of you who have me on Facebook, you can do that. Message me. Alright, you sick fucks. I'll see you anon. Take care, and I was about to say may God be with you, but yeah, just be safe, and yeah, take care.